The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk. Welcome to the Birth Baby Podcast. Each week, you'll find guidance, encouragement, and practical tools to support you through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum journey. I'm your host, Ciarra Morgan, a certified birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant. I'm also the owner of a doula agency in Austin, Texas, and the founder of the Birth Baby Academy, where I offer classes for both parents and birth professionals. Thanks for being here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our bonus episode on safe sleep. Today, Ciarra is going to be talking to us about what the ABCs of safe sleep are and what we do with them and answering all of our questions. So to start us off, Ciarra, tell us, what are the ABCs of safe sleep?
Well, I love that we're doing this because October is Safe Sleep Month. And so I want to start off by telling you actually what the difference is between two terms. So often we hear that people are co-sleeping, but co-sleeping is a little bit ambiguous because some people say co-sleeping and they mean bed sharing, and some people say co-sleeping and they mean room sharing. So the AAP recommends that you're supposed to have your baby in your room until at least a certain age. It used to be 6 months. I think now that they're saying a year. And they'll say that that's co-sleeping, but that's room sharing. And nobody in a medical field right now really, in general, recommends bed sharing. Bed sharing is when the baby is sleeping in the bed with the parent. So we are today going to talk about when we're co-sleeping in a room sharing meaning. And really, you don't have to be room sharing to do any of these things either. This is even when they're in their own bed. So I'm not going to address bed sharing today because I cannot recommend it because of liability reasons, but look up the Safe Sleep 7 if that's something you're interested in. So the ABCs of safe sleep. So A stands for alone, B stands for back, and C stands for crib. So let's break those down. So alone, the baby should be alone in their sleep space. So that means without any other siblings or parents or anyone like that, and without any loveys or pillows or blankets. So that's what we mean by alone. This means also if you have twins, they're not supposed to sleep in the same bed, in the same sleep space. And this is, again, why I can't recommend bed sharing, because it's against the ABCs of safe sleep. So that is what alone means. And then B is back. By the way, alone doesn't have to mean alone in the room. It just means alone on the surface that they're sleeping on. B means on their back. So there was the Back to Sleep campaign. I'm 39 years old, and my mom absolutely put me to sleep on my stomach because that's what you were supposed to do. And now they recommend putting your babies down on their back. If your baby can roll over on their own onto their stomach, then they say it's safe for them to stay there because they were able to get there on their own. They can stay there. But you're not supposed to put them down on their stomach. Even if they can roll onto their stomach on their own, we're still supposed to put them down on their back. So that's what B is, back. And then C is crib. Now, crib can mean crib, bassinet, any hard, safe sleep surface. So we did talk in, I believe it was the baby containers episode. We talked about, that there are some little sleep containers and things that people use, like the DockATot and the Rock and Play and things like that. We cannot recommend those. Those are not safe sleep. Those are not hard, flat surfaces. So the mattress for a baby's, and I think we also talked about it with Jess, but the mattress for whatever the baby's supposed to be sleeping on is supposed to be hard and has very tight fitting sheets so that they're not loose and able to be a suffocation hazard for the baby. So crib is crib or bassinet. Now, as the baby gets bigger, a bassinet's not going to work out because they can pull up on the sides. And so we need to make sure that that's safe. And then in the crib, there are different levels usually on cribs where you can start moving them down lower so that, there's not a risk of them falling over. But things like the drop sides and all of those, that's why those cribs are no longer deemed safe, is because they don't create that container that we need the baby to be able to be in safely.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Things have changed so much over the years too. So it very well might be that if you have an older kid, you're hearing this and you're like, oh my gosh, this has changed in the 10 years since I've had my last baby. That's okay. It's changed since Ciarra and I had our first round of babies. So it's all okay.
Absolutely.
We're in it together. Yeah. So when is it important to start these things, to start these ABCs?
From the beginning. So the ABCs of safe sleep are really even more so to help protect the littlest of them. Now, when we're in, like, people that give birth in hospital are very much told that they need to put their baby down, like, don't fall asleep with your baby. Also, those beds are really not set up for that anyway, because, an adult can fall out of them, let alone a baby that's on a mom's chest or something. So that's why they're recommending that the baby be in that little, like, clear little container that they put in there. It's kind of like a little bassinet. And when you're at home, though, a lot of times it's a little bit more ambiguous. But having your baby be on the bed, our beds in the United States specifically are so plush. And we have these, pillow top mattresses and these down comforters and these gorgeous, glamorous pillows and decorative pillows and all of these things. And all of these make it completely unsafe for our babies to sleep in our bed. That's why I recommended looking up the Safe Sleep 7 if you are going to be putting your baby in your bed. So starting these things from day one are helpful, and making sure that you're doing them during the daytime too, because yes, maybe you're watching your baby sleep at the nap if you want to. So you're like, oh, it's fine that they're not in the safe sleep space because they are, I'm watching them. Well, yeah, but that's going to make your night a lot harder because the baby's going to want to be in that little plush, whatever that you had them in, or on your skin, which sometimes you want to do contact naps, and that's okay. But it just does make it harder when you're trying to get them to sleep in a container overnight.
Goes back to like what we were talking about in our last episode, just find the sustainable, safe sleep practices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to ask when do we need to, or when can we, I guess, stop worrying about these things quite as much?
Yeah. So these things are to help prevent the incidence of SIDS. That is what the catalyst was for trying to get these practices more widely known. And the rate of SIDS drops dramatically after 2 years old. So I remember, my anxiety was so high. I've shared on this podcast before. I did not know that I had postpartum anxiety until I was a doula. I looked back and went, oh my gosh, because I just couldn't wait until my son turned 2. I wished so much time away because I knew the incidence of SIDS went down. My mind was so on that. So after the age of 2 is when they say, you don't have to worry so much about them, suffocating in their bed with a, blanket or pillow or a lovey or whatever. And, if they want to sleep with their sibling, they can crawl in, now sustainable practices, that's totally separate. But if we're talking about safe sleep, it's, fine usually for them at that point. They're really able to move around and do all of the things, and they can shout out and, if they're hurt or something. And once they can, once they're 1 or something, if they're moving around, really after they're crawling, you're putting them down in their bed. You can't really lie them down in their back sometimes. They're fighting you, and you're putting them down sitting up sometimes. Maybe they're just sitting when you put them down. So those sorts of things don't get as serious once they have more dexterity and they're more mobile. But being alone in their crib is at least until 1, more recommended until 2. And being in a safe sleep container like a crib is really important also until at least age 2. And free advice, I have people all the time that reach out to me and they want to pay me for sleep consulting to help them transition their kid from a crib to a big kid bed because they have a baby coming, or because they just think it's time and it's fun. But their kid is under the age of 3. And if your baby is not crawling out of their crib, leave them in the crib. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If they are sleeping well in there, leave them there, because that is if you can't keep your kid in a crib, how are you about to keep them in a room? Right? They are coming out for sure. So if somebody contacts me and they're like, oh, we need to use the crib for the baby, so we want to move our 18-month-old or 2-year-old to a bed, I'm like, buy another crib. Like, I know that I will make no money off of you, but I'm telling you right now, don't pay me. Just don't do what you're doing, what you're trying to do, because it's just not safe. If you have, now you're going to have to block off all of the stairs in your house, to make sure that they're not falling down the stairs in the middle of the night, or are you putting a lock on their door to keep them in their room at that point? Because if your baby is little enough that they should still be in a crib, but they're able to crawl out, you basically have to make their room a crib. You have to make their room safe. You have to make sure, you should anyway, but make really sure that the dresser and everything is attached to the wall, and basically make their room a crib.
And the outlets are covered and the cords are hidden.
And, the cords.
There's so many things.
Yes. So as long as possible, as long as it is safely possible, leaving them in their crib until they're like negotiating with you, saying that they want a big kid bed, because they can understand the rules and the boundaries, the safety rules about that bed in their room. And that's a big responsibility, and that they have to commit to also staying in that bed for safety.
Yeah. Yeah. There's your pro mom tip of the episode.
Yeah. And, this is in relation to safe sleep. Sometimes we wonder like what's going on in our baby's room. And we want to be able to see them. I really do love a video monitor, because it helps you be able to see if your baby's crying and you just fed them, that they don't have a dirty diaper, and they're just tired, and you're wanting to give them a little bit of space to try to figure it out, even like 5 minutes or so. It's nice to be able to see your baby, to make sure that their arm isn't stuck in the crib, slats or whatever. I do really like a video monitor, just to be able to keep an eye. And yes, my child is 7, and yes, I still have a video monitor in his room.
Same. Absolutely. I use my video monitor to get them out of bed in the morning. Yeah.
Well, and I look and see him like, did he wake up to his alarm, or do I need to haul my butt in there instead of get myself ready,
Exactly.
So it's quite convenient.
It is really nice also, because then you can, when they're little, you can take a glance at the monitor before you walk in there to see if they are starting to settle down, because they might still be squawking, but they're like doing that like self-soothing sort of thing.
Yes.
And if you give them 2 minutes, they will be out like a light. So
absolutely,
I think that's a super clutch thing.
Yes, I agree. So there's just some information about safe sleep.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. I know this is going to be really helpful for everybody who's trying to figure it all out, as we all are still.
Yeah. And it'll change. This is as of recording August 2025. This is what the standards are right now. They could change next month.
Absolutely. They probably will. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you again soon. And make sure you're liking and commenting and emailing us with your episode ideas, please.
Bye. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more families who can benefit from this resource. For more resources, classes, and services, head to empoweredbeginningsatx.com or check out the Birth Baby Academy at birthbabyacademy.com. Until next time, wishing you confidence and calm on your journey through birth and beyond.